Good morning, everybody. It's Thursday, the 11th of March 2021. I'm Sam, and I'm here to give you a progress report on this giant wonky journal, show you where I've got to, how the ideas are developing, and what my next steps might be. It's a pretty chunky, it's definitely an alligator mouth. Affair at the moment, and I got to the point where I get really impatient. I love making covers, and I love it when the book's sewn together. So I find the bit where I sort of work on the pages but it's too soon to sew them in, I find that quite hard, and I'm impatient to sew the signature in, so I have to work really hard to slow myself down and really think about things I need to do to the pages before they're sewn in. And not that you can't always do them after, but especially in terms of sturdy structure, and if you want to machine stitch things, it's quite important to do that. And I knew there were elements of this that needed to be machined on, so as I go through I will explain to you. So I've sewn the signature in with sari silk, which I wish I'd tea-stoned before I started, but I will do that afterwards probably and dirty that up a bit with something. I went ahead and made this into a double pocket here. So you've got that one is just glued on, but it's a pretty secure pocket, and there's amount of room in there. And then this first page here, and then this weird sort of fabric backed page, I decided that doing any kind of work on this, it's got some acrylic paint on it and it's deli paper, but it would be quite hard to work on whatever you wanted to do in this journal. So I made that into more, there's a lot of pockets, so I made this jelly print here into a pocket. I've done it in a scrungy way. It's glued and taped and stapled with a tab, and then that is a sewn pocket there. This collage page which you've seen, and this pocket page here which I showed you, this is new, so I just tipped in a bit of sort of stencil over jelly print that I did this week, and I've started I've got these really weird tags I bought, and can you see they've got these, they were joined together like paper dolls, which might make quite a cool effect now I think about it, but I wanted them as tags, individual tags, and when I cut them apart I've got these weird, I don't know if you can see, hold on, weird notches. Anyway, that's by the by. Anyway, they're weird tags, but I've stained them up, and then I did some distress ink on them, and I've used them, and some sort of not very bad stamping, and used them as tabs in a couple of places. Got this here, got this flipping out here. This was the other envelope which I didn't collage, but I have just sort of distressed and gessoed, and well, it's not gesso, it's buff titanium paint. Another one of those tag tabs, that's a hard one to say. And here we're heading towards the bit that was really holding me up, of course, was these slow stitch pockets, because they take an age. So I've got this one here now done. So these had to be sewn in before I could sew the signatures together. So this one here, so this was my snippet roll, and I'm going to lift it up as close as I can. So you've just got some random stitching here, just some little straight stitches laid over each other in different patterns here and here, and these are fly stitches, and those are also fly stitches done differently, and a little altered button there. So you've got a nice fabric pocket there. So I'm really pleased with how those have come out. But they're quite a lot of work, and they were holding me up, so I had to set 2 last night, put the TV on and stitched till they were done. I do enjoy the slow stitching, but I was getting distracted by other things in the evening. Excuse me, I'm going to have a sip of coffee. It's better. This is piano roll paper. And here, instead of folding the tag over, I've used 2 back to back and stitched them around the page. And then, I don't know whether I want more envelopes. I mean, this is turning into a bit of a sort of a storage fast journal. But from the patterned paper I used, and I wanted to include that elsewhere, and I wanted some envelopes. So I've made this really oversized fabric-backed envelope. So I just used glue stick to lightly tack the fabric down to the paper before I sewed, because it all tends to go wrong if I don't stick it somehow, and pins and clips get in my way when I'm sewing. So actually having it tacked down with glue for me is the best way. Yeah, and just flipped and sewed up the sides there, but I think that makes a nice sturdy, it feels great, a nice sturdy envelope. Yeah, and I've made 2 of those, so there's one coming later. Here is the pocket I showed you last time. Ooh. It doesn't quite go in, does it? The pocket I showed you last time with this shabby string on the edges. Another grungy fold out bit there. I know it doesn't fold out, but of that packing paper. This is pretty grungy. Now this is the centre collage spread, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. I definitely need to grunge up that sari silk in the middle. I don't know whether it's a bit too dark, whether it needs a bit more definition, whether, sorry, I just stood up and moved away from the camera there, whether I need to put some medium on it. I don't know what I need to do to it. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know. I might try it with some kind of finish, because I think that might be approved. I want something, I don't want gloss, but I wouldn't, maybe something satin on there would just zhuzh it up and make the colours sing a little bit more. So there's the back of that. So that I flipped back, so you've got a flip out space here. Another one of those seed pages. Another bit of painty paper there. The other side of the mixed media paper, the piano roll. And here's the other slow stitched pocket, if I can hold it up. So you've got cross stitches here, another line of fly stitch. These are actually little bullion knots, like little caterpillars. I'm not very good at them though. They might come out a bit wonky. And then I've stitched this lace down, this chocolate brown dyed lace, and this is just more random fly stitch over here, which I really like doing. And 3 more altered buttons. The altered buttons, hold on, I don't have that many of them, but they are just decoupaged with a napkin. So I just find, I don't know if that's focusing. I don't know. Anyway, it's just napkin. So I often end up using the backs, not the fronts of the buttons, because it's decoupaging over this kind of ridge texture here. You see that one's got a ridge in it. Is hard. So often I'll use the backs of the buttons, flat backs of the buttons, although some of these are my early ones where I was making the effort. But that was a pretty one. So they are, if the buttons are brightly coloured, which you'll see there are all sorts of colours on the back, although that one's sewn on, I spray them with like a primer, like a really inexpensive Wilko's own brand spray paint primer, just a light coat, and then decoupage over that. They're quite nice to do, but you need the right napkins with sort of little, if you want them to have images on, with little images. But I might do some more. I had a really nice butterfly one that I used for one of my tags. And I've had them for so long thinking, what do I do with them? And now I'm like, oh, I'd like to use these. So here we go, we're into the back half. So sort of the same again on the other sides. There's that other string sewn pocket and another one of those envelopes. And here, if you follow me on Instagram, you might have seen this. This is alcohol ink on tissue paper, and then it's decoupaged over some leisure. And I was just like, this was experimental collage fodder playing. I really like the effect, and I've tipped that in over there. And here we are, that pocket, there we go, and that same at the back there, and as at the front here. So that's sort of the bones of the journal, and I'm so glad it's sewn together now. And the question is, how much more do we do? I've obviously got to work on the cover with the two bits that I've got that I'm thinking about to flip out. So I still haven't done anything with that one. So that one's going to flip up there, and then that one's going to flip out here, and we'll have some kind of closure. So yeah, I've still got to do that. And then the other things I have been doing are thinking about ephemera. And one of the things that I needed to consider, of course, is this is a big journal, and you don't want lots of tiny little bitty bits. It might look a bit strange, so that I needed to sort of, excuse me while I try and get organised, scale things up. Another sip of coffee, sorry. So I thought about clusters, and then I was thinking, you know, do I want to stick a load more, you know, a load of stuff in? And obviously this journal would definitely be for somebody creative who might want to make some more of their own decisions about where things go. So I thought that making these large clusters altered paper clips, you know, might be a nice way to leave the future owner, oh come on, sorry, I'm all fingers and thumbs, to use the future owner of this journal some decisions as to where these things might go. So I think they'll look nice kind of anywhere, and I will scatter them around, particularly onto the undecorated pages of this. I don't know how many I'm going to make. You know, there's a limit, isn't there, as to how much it's gonna take. Anyway, so I've made this one and this one, which are slightly grungier. Just various bits of painty paper, and that's a water leaf I've hand cut out of some watercolour paper. That's a die cut leaf over grungy collage. This one's a little bit more delicate, but all unified by the colours of this journal. So, you know, the greens with the burgundy dark red tone is sort of unifying that. And then these two, so it can go that way, or it can go that way, or it can go that way. The nice thing about these designs is it doesn't matter which way they go up, so you don't have to make a decision. And this one. Because apparently that way or that way or that way, but never that way. I suppose there's no reason why you couldn't put it on the bottom of a page, is there? So these just go onto these little paperclip bases. And they're very simple if you've not seen those before. Don't know who else does it this way. I think there's lots of different ways of doing altered paper clips. Don't know. This is the way I do it. Don't know where the way I do it came from. I've watched many people make clips. So you take a rectangle of paper that when folded in half will give you a square that's a good size base for your journal, clustered size of kind of embellishment you want to make. These are big, about sort of, they're about 3 inches square. And on one side you need to use a craft knife to make just a tiny little cut in the paper. Needs to be relatively near the top, because you need to be able to accommodate the depth of your size of paperclip. Obviously, if you're doing a small one with a smaller base, you'll have a smaller clip. Sorry, was off camera then. So a smaller clip to contend with, so that's fine, but I need to accommodate my larger paperclip. Okay, so it's relatively near the top. And remember, the top of your paperclip is the lowest you can put that embellishment into the journal. So anything that sticks up above here, anything that sticks up above here is going to stick out at the top or the side of the page, beyond the signature, depending on which way you put it. So you can sort of move it up a bit. You can move it up a bit in order to make it stick out more, but you won't be able to make it stick out less unless you chop the top off it. It's just something to bear in mind. So, can't find the hole I made. So you then just so I'm going to put the smaller part of my paperclip inside there. And then you stick it together. Now there's no reason why you need to sew these. You probably could just sew them. I like to be certain, so I like to glue mine down, let them dry and then stitch. But try not to do what I do, which was get so much glue that it all started splurting out the hole for the paperclip and the edges and made dirty marks. Thankfully, I just embraced that as more grunge. But if you're particular about things like that, then don't use too much glue, like I do. Right, so we give this a good squish together. You know, and if you use this kind of embellishment a lot, you can make these up in advance, can't you? And have, you know, I did a small batch here. So yeah, I'll stitch that one later. But basically, yeah, rectangle, fold it half into a square, make a slit, put your paper clip in, glue and stitch if required. And obviously, if that ends up, if you haven't stitched yet and you want something slightly smaller than that or a different proportion, you can always trim these down first. So you can see on mine, in some places, they show. So if you don't want to stitch anything on your top layer collage, you could just start sticking, you know, and gluing straight, you know, down onto here like this. But I want to maybe, you know, have a bit of a, I might want to sew on what comes on top. So what I normally do is grab a few pieces which I think I want to use. and just start having a think about that. What else? So look, so for example, I might decide that yeah, that looks about right. And so I then will grab a little bit of glue. See if I can do it with this, because it's the least messy option while I'm filming, or at all. So I'm just going to try and tack, right, tack that, and then, I have it there, that, okay, so just enough to just hold it roughly. It's a bit light. That's too big. Right. But you can see where I'm going. So I'm just tacking this together as best I can with a little bit of glue. Okay, maybe we don't want one of those, maybe one of these on here. And only tacking something like that, maybe. I'm not entirely sure, but so once I've got a composition that I think will work, I will go over and just make sure my glue is dry and then stitch down. See, that tiny bit of glue is just holding this how I want it. So you see, just fiddle around with it, and then I might just sort of do a little sort of wonky line that just joins it down there, for example, catches all the bits, and then come and glue it onto here. But it's pretty simple. And I need to make a couple more, which I will get on with. And then the other thing I'm trying to do is work on tags, stroke journaling cards, stroke things to put in pockets that you can write on, that kind of carry on the shabby wonky theme that I've decided on for this strange project. So I got a file folder which I collaged front and back. So on one side it's got writable papers, and on the other side it's got some of the more decorative papers, mostly or all of them papers that have been used somewhere else in this journal. And that sort of pinky brown is the file folder, the colour of the file folder. And so I did not two file folders, but two flat sides. So one whole file folder, but I cut it into two flat pieces first. Collaged front and back. And then I tore. So each one tore into three, I think, three sort of giant wonky cards or tags like that. Because again, our normal little straight tags might look a little bit lost and strange in that big journal. I might make some things as well that aren't wonky, I don't know. So I've got those three. That's one from the other sheet, and there's a couple that I've been working on. And again, is quite tricky. So this was the first one. And what I've needed to do, of course, is all my labels are tiny. So I needed to sort of scale up. So I went back onto my iPad and scaled up some of these labels that I've either drawn myself or found in public domain images. I think that one might have been excessive. I think that's probably too big for anybody, but we'll see. And just played around with some sizes to sort of see what I could come up with. So just some larger ephemera to go on the ephemera, if that makes any sense. So this is the first one I did, and I'm not sure about it. It's all right. I think I prefer the back to the front, the writing side. But yeah, there's that one. Oh, I did that as well, which was 2 sort of pieces of painty paper, Franken paper together, and yeah, with the negative space die cuts and positive one there. So I might include that. This one I think I like better. Yeah, I don't know what it is about them. I think it's just a bit of an unfamiliar format, isn't it? And I think that maybe the sort of the irregular format is throwing my brain, because we're so used to sort of composing our collages in sort of certain spaces, that maybe that is what's affecting me. So I'm finding these, yeah, they're not it's not that it's bad, but I'm finding it challenging to get them to look the way I want to, and that's to do with the change of scale and sort of regularity of shape, I suppose. So I've got a few more here. How long have we been recording? I can't see. No, because if I try and look, you're going to end up with my face. I think that might say about 20 minutes, but do you know what? I don't really know. Let's see. Right, so there's often a bit of remedial work that needs to be done with these big sort of collage boards that you then cut up, and particularly when you're ripping it like this. So I'm just putting a little bit of frayed burlap around the edge of this. It's the oxide, but I think it's running out a bit. Right, we've definitely got ink. Okay, and I need another spot of glue. Oh. Okay, right, I don't know what we're going to do. Other than drink more coffee. I don't know. Oh, interesting. I'm going to go quiet now, because I'm thinking, and this is not an automatic sometimes with collage I can just sort of switch off and flow, and that's probably what I need to do with these, to be honest with you, but it's not working like that at the moment. So let's see if we can get this let's do a bit of inking. Okay, we like the inking. Okay, so we'll try making quick decisions. I am in love with this embossed paper. This grungy embossed paper. I've got another piece somewhere else. Don't know whether I'll use it on here though. It's been making multiple appearances. It's a nice little fragment, isn't it? I love the way it looks. I love the way it tastes. It makes me happy. And if it's true confession time, I swore, it's actually only a few weeks ago, I swore I wasn't going to get a die cut machine. And that I didn't have room for one, and that I didn't need one. And it's like famous last words, really. Because I bought one. And I am absolutely loving having embossed paper, I have to say. But I do have to stop myself from like buying all the dies now. Okay, I might be overthinking there. I think this label ticket stamp thing won't work on here. And there's something up in that corner. I'll need more of these leaves in darker colours because he's too pale. He's too pale. I've got a scrap of my handmade paper there. We could get off. Maybe. Trying to see what else I've got that might appeal. I'm not going to say anything else about the journal now. So if you're not interested in watching me root about and ah over this card and its composition, do feel free to stop watching. I'm rifling through a box of paper, seeing if there's anything that's jumping out that's going to make this tag look perfect. I'm not sure that's going to happen. That's definitely going to need an ink, and sometimes things upset my eyes without me realising it, and something's looking wrong, and sometimes it's just that I need to ink something. It could just be that it's my determination to use the textured paper is premature. What about any more of those? You and you who are pale. This is going to have to go in a side pocket, isn't it? Okay. Did this. I don't want them going too far off because they'll just get damaged, but I do want them to go off a bit. Okay. I hope you've been able to see most of that. I think that spontaneous collaging is probably going to be one of the hardest things for me to stay on screen when we're doing it, because yeah, because you kind of get lost off into your own little world. So will this come into its own now as a sort of foil for those leaves? I don't know. No, that leaf is causing me a problem, number one. I think that looks nice. Let's do it, let's do it. Stop faffing around, and if we don't like it, we can put it all off and start again. That is what we can do, because it is just paper and cardboard and a little bit of paint. It's not the end of the world if it's not right to my eye. It's not, definitely not a problem if it's not right to someone else's eye, because that's not what matters. Okay, so let's do you there. You know, sometimes you just have to go for it. It's really easy to get caught up in judging your own work and yourself and whether it's going to be good enough, but depends on what you're doing it for. You know, if you're trying to make a living as an artist, that's a different dynamic. If you're creating for your own pleasure, then actually, you know, the point is that it's a pleasurable process, and worrying about what other people think is probably going to kill that pretty darn quickly. I'm still faffing with this. I'm just going to stick it down. It's probably because I'm trying to use this when it doesn't really suit, because I just love this paper. Grungy little bits of paper so much. They make me happy. Okay, nice and squished there. Then I definitely want to use this one. Maybe that's all it needs. I don't know, can you see? Or maybe that. Do you know what? To go less is more. Stick it down so we can be done. There. I think that's okay. I think I'm happy with that. So I've got one, it's quite an eclectic journal, I have to say. 1, 2, maybe 3, slightly different theme. 4 of those. I've got some clusters. I've got 2 large envelopes. And the other thing I think I'm going to do in this journal is put in quite a lot of the papers that I've used. So either reprints or some original bits of jelly printed paper and things like that possibly, and include them with this journal so that the owner can continue to work in the journal using some of those same elements if they choose to. Who knows? So I'm going to go and clean up again. This journal is creating vast amounts of like towering mess, it seems, because I'm making lots of things for it and then I'm making other things, and anyway, you don't need to hear. So in the next one I'll be back either to show you where I've got to next or with a flip through if I've finished. As I said, I'm not entirely sure what's next to do. Thank you those of you who watched my experimenting with alcohol ink video. That was really good fun. Yeah, I'm rambling now, so I'm going to go away and I will see you next time. Come follow me on Instagram if you don't already and are interested in seeing some of the other things that I'm doing that I'm not filming for YouTube. Thank you ever so much for watching. Stay safe, stay well, have a good day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.